welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome back. And if you're my previous subscribers, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video in particular, we're going to be talking about and discussing the Insurrection Act and also some sort of other mystery messages that my spirit guides want us to talk about. That part remains a mystery, hence the name. But going back to the Insurrection Act, about less than 40 minutes ago, it just hit the media that Donald Trump is open to invoking the Insurrection Act to overstep and to bypass the court proceeding to prevent him from deploying the National Guard and the military in order to execute those plans. And that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video, along with whatever mystery message Spirit has for us. Also, if you want to go ahead and kind of catch up to date and kind of watch some of my previous Insurrection Act videos, I'll put them in the link in the description below and also in the comment section and at the end of today's video. Alright guys, let's move on. This video is being recorded on Monday, October the 6th at 5:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as of when I'm recording this specific video. Just keep in mind this video is just for entertainment, for educational purposes only. And if you want to help out this channel grow, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting the bell icon, engaging with the content, sharing this video with others. Really help boost the algorithm here on this YouTube channel. And speaking of that, today is Monday, so welcome to the next week. And let's just highlight some people who have done just that to help this channel grow and, expand. I do want to acknowledge some people. We have Community Spotlight, and we have Kim Finley, Almaniz Ben, Angel Shinin, Victor Cohen. You're new, so welcome, Victor. We have Julie M. Thank you all of you guys for participating. Help out this channel grow. It really does matter, and I do appreciate all the love and support you have given into the channel. And I don't want you to feel like it does go unnoticed, because I see you. I noticed it. Anyway, this video again is just for entertainment, educational purposes only as well. All right, let's go. Let's start. Let's begin. This intro is way too long. I hate long intros, and so do you. Alright, so let's see. I have a thing that I wanted to ask Spirit. Let's ask about the Insurrection Act first. Alright, so Spirit and Angel, tell me, will Donald Trump invoke the Insurrection Act in order to overstep and to deploy the National Guard and military into U.S. cities? I'm hearing removal. Okay. Huh. Something's weird. Something's weird. Okay. What's the bottom of the deck here? We have the 6 of Pentacles reversed. We have here money, shady. This is behind the scenes. Okay. At the top of the deck here, we have the Tower card. Tower. A big change coming. Here you have victory. So he is going to be victorious if he does pursue the Insurrection Act and invoking that Insurrection Act. But we want to know more about the story. What leads us up to this? And then where do we go from here, essentially? This is my homemade tarot deck. If the card is reversed, we read the other side. Okay, Spirit Angel, tell me about Donald Trump and whether or not he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act to overstep and override the Supreme Court and justices from preventing him from deploying the National Guard and military into U.S. cities. What's happening here? What's happening in the United States in regards to the Insurrection Act? Okay, so we have trouble ahead. What's going on? What's going on in the United States right now? What's going on with the Insurrection Act? I'm hearing distraction. It's going to be done, I think, before, if he were to do this, he's going to do it before the election in New Jersey, New York City, and Virginia. We have the polls are wrong. Every vote counts. Intimidation. The top of the deck, we have the White House. Republican White House. What's behind it? Hateful ideology. Proud Boys, neo-Nazi, pro-slavery, hateful ideology. That's what's behind that. This is the intention here. We have here, they don't want a wipeout by the Democrats. They don't want what FDR had. So instead, they're going to do a disease outbreak and a genocide. of Native Americans. So what does this mean? This means that essentially what is happening now is the Republican Party, at least the Republican White House, is attempting to create mass genocide. Again, this video is just for entertainment, educational purposes only as well, in order to execute a certain plan or goal. And it's not just in relation to the Native Americans, but it's talking about Americans born in the U.S. Okay? And I spoke about this many years ago, that there was going to be concentration in the camps in the U.S. and people were going to die. And a lot of people felt very scared about that, and rightfully so. I was actually scared. I mean, I'm the messenger here, right? But that's the reality that we live in. And unfortunately, there's not much that we can do in terms of changing that outcome. But we can save people around us who are directly affected. So we can do our part. We can change the story. Not maybe for everybody, but for those we can come in contact with. It's what you do with the story that can alter things. Because the first card that comes in terms of the Insurrection Act being invoked is the King of Swords reversed. And the King of Swords reversed means removal from power, or removing somebody from power. There could also be a limitation or restriction or overstepping or overseeing the power or resources of a specific state. So for example, the president overtaking or relinquishing the power of the governorship and relinquishing that information, all that power, and delegating it to the presidency or to the executive branch. Dissolving power where it's needed, right? That could be what the King of Swords is, the dissolvation of power. Followed by the Five of Swords reversed. These governors cannot give up. They are still governors. They were elected by the people directly, right? And here's the card that comes in reverse. We have swing state to size. We have education, right? Private versus public schools, high tuition, high school dropout education. It's the fact that these people need to understand that there are a rise in tension, but history is on your side. If you know history well, you know how it's done, you can be able to defeat this. They don't want you to know your history because it gives you the blueprint on how to defeat them. Because not only did it give them the blueprint on how to adopt the ideology and overtake the U.S. government, but also it gives you the blueprint on how to take them out. Education is your best friend. We have here as well as you have the Ruth Bader Ginsburg, forward or backward, prejudice in court, and this is Supreme Court, right? The intention that he wants to prevent is the removal from power. But he is removing power from the Supreme Court. He's removing power from the judicial branch. So when Donald Trump does invoke the Insurrection Act, he is relinquishing power from the judicial branches of government around the United States. That is what this is. But the judicial branches have more power over the executive than he wants, and that's why removing that will prevent that hurdle, because he will become a full-on dictator once he removes the judicial branch. There's no one else to stop him. And here you have it, the swing state to size. What is happening? We have unemployment, the Great Depression, corporate greed, unstable economy. This makes a lot of sense. The economy is going to create instability, and I've said this many times before, that a lot of these people who come into power and control, they have a tendency to destroy not only the nation, but also things around them, including the economy. What happens when people have no jobs? Well, they're going to have nothing to do, right? They have nothing to do, they have nothing to lose. They lost everything around them. They lost the healthcare, they lost their benefits, they lost their money, they lost their income, their food. There's a fine line between anger and hunger. If you combine the two together, you got an angry populace. And that causes revolution, that causes rebellion, it causes uproar. There's a very fine line. And most dictators or most authoritarians can never find the peaceful line, because they're always out to punish their people, to punish their citizens. They're never able to give them a good way of life. The reason why Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, was able to self-sustain himself was because he actually provided resources and progressive policy in France that kept him in the good limelight of the general public. Authoritarian leaders are not emperors, and therefore they don't provide the necessities needed for the public or to benefit in some sort of progression in a better society. They do the opposite. They crumble it. And that is what's happening here. Donald Trump is going to enter us into a Great Depression. What I spoke about years ago, I talked about how AI, well before AI was even a thing, talk about how robots were going to start taking over people's jobs, and that was going to cause and lead us into the next depression, and that we were going to enter that kind of towards not during Biden's presidency, but during the next one, which is now, which is Donald Trump's presidency. And as we go into the next card here, we have the emperor, and the emperor is the president. What is the president doing? What is Donald Trump doing? Well, we have here oil and gas industry, oil spill, high gas prices, Middle East. He's trying to cause uproar. He's trying to pour gasoline and try to inflame things. You remember back during the 1930s, in order for Germany to be able to rectify their action, they need uproar, they need protests, they need riots, they need rallies. And then they need to have somebody instigating those fights. If they can catch them on video and blast them across the entire nation, they use that as propaganda, saying these people are trying to overtake the cities and we need to deploy the military and the police. That is how Nazi Germany went to where they were, because they used protests as a form of justification. They used it to spin the narrative and turn the populace against that. And that is what he's essentially doing. He's essentially sending people to different cities, not to overtake the cities, but to ignite a flame or a fire to justify everything else. That is what he's doing. That's the intention. We have here as well as we have the third party, two parties dominate, strong third party support, better choices, your voice is heard. Right? So again, this voice is heard, third party means protest. Normally when people vote third party, it's a protest vote. We have here as well, we have the election of 2000, swing state decides, if Florida is reversed. What do we have here? We have infrastructure, supply and demand, Rust Belt cities, blue collar voters. What it is telling us, he's going to restrict resources to these specific areas that he deploys. So there can be a limitation on food, there's going to be a limitation on gas, all these different things. There's going to be restriction. He's going to destroy the infrastructure of cities around the United States. Here you have the Republican Party, the president, right? He's very popular, at least in terms of the MAGA wing, right? So he's going to use it to his leverage. He's going to justify his action in these cities as saving these cities. And he's going to become very popular with the Republican Party or the Republican Party members in those regions or states. We have here, when we move on closer to the Chariot card, which is reversed, we have a sense of slowness, right? Trouble ahead. It's reversed. Why is it reversed? Trouble ahead reversed. We have October surprise. Why does this mean that there's a slowness here? Something's going to surprise us. So we don't really know if Donald Trump is going to declare or invoke the Insurrection Act quite yet, but it looks like we might be in for a surprise. We have here as well, is followed by the Seven of Swords, which is looking at the future, which is here, and it's looking and walking in the opposite direction. Well, you're asking yourself, well, why? Well, it's why because we have the Monopoly card in reverse. Why is that important? Because he's trying to take away the election. Right? You see here the seat margin for the House is 200 to 217, 53 to 47 Senate. He's trying to take away election. He's trying to use this as a form of distraction or voter imitation to prevent people from voting for a specific party, to invigorate these movements. Right? It's a distraction. That's what this is. We have here as well, we have civil rights. It's reversed. Climate change. The climate is going to start to change around this time. When this starts to take place, we'll tell that this time period is around November, which makes sense because November is the time of, when we start to enter winter. We also do have here the willing to concede, election fraud, too close to call, basically what we just talked about. We'll also talk about gangs, right? Murder or robbery, MS-13 crime rate. This is ICE, justifying crime and using this as a means to distract voters or to take votes away from candidates and prevent people from wanting to go out, make them fear for their life. We have here as well is we have the 10 of Cups, and the 10 of Cups means good outcome, positive outcome. He wants a positive outcome for the president, a positive outcome. And here you have it, the King of Pentacles. This is the president. We did it at last. And so this is going to be the testing zone for the President of the United States. If he's successful with preventing people from going out to vote, and these Democrats end up losing New Jersey, Virginia, New York City, he's going to use that as the blueprint for what's going to come in the 2026 midterms. This is the blueprint. We have the president. Instead, we have the vice president, right? So the vice president is very giddy. What is J.D. Vance doing here? J.D. Vance is not having an inauguration. This is not an inauguration. He's not a new president, right? Instead, we have entertainment industry, Hollywood, propaganda, celebrities, entertainment. He's going to be doing a lot more propaganda going forward. So keep that in mind. Donald Trump chose J.D. Vance not only because he was forced to and was threatened to be killed because of it, but also retrospect that J.D. Vance plays a specific role when it comes to propaganda. We also have here spin a story, talk to voters, rally supporters, media interviews. Exactly what we talked about. He's going to be rallying. He's going to be propagandizing. He's going to be telling us what is all around us. What are we aware of? What are we not aware of? All right, that is what I see. This is the energy. This is what's coming, and it seems to be on par. It seems to self-explain the story, right? Let's see what Spirit has to say, and then we'll end today's video. Spirit Angel, tell me, what do you have to say in regards to what we just talked about in terms of the Insurrection Act in the United States? What did you have to say? Or any messages? Okay, so I'm hearing the military foundation is being rebuilt. They are paying people to exit. They're forcing people to leave. So what's happening with these generals we have here? We have the Queen of Coins. They're being underhanded paid. So this is them here. This is the war generals. And here is them being underhanded, paychecks being forwarded under the influence, something along those lines. That is what the Queen of Coins is telling us. We also have here as well, we have the Ace of Swords reversed, no longer honoring the oath. The oath and loyalty is no longer to the United States, it's now to the president. And I do also want to keep you guys in mind that this is only talking for the collective that agrees with Donald Trump. It does not talk about the collective that disagrees in terms of war generals, or generals essentially. In general, that's what I meant, like military general. We also have here, we have the rebuilding and restructuring of the military system itself, the hierarchy system. This is the foundation, the nine of wands here, telling me that the structure, the system of the military is being built. It's being changed, it's being altered. And here is followed by the temperance card. The temperance card is not walking away. Not walking away, right? We have the money here, but no longer restricted, doing as you please. So I feel like the good people are going to be gone. And all the bad people, the people who are willing to be underhanded, willing to be paid, to have their loyalty and oath be defied by the United States, but only be loyal to the president, they'll be the ones staying in power. They'll be the one in control. The bottom deck here is we have the Emperor. Like, he dirtied the flag. He's dirty, gross. He's the swamp. He is the swamp. He said drain the swamp, but he is the swamp. When he means drain the swamp, he doesn't mean drain all the bad people. He means get rid of all the good people, replace them with the bad people, and then you created a swamp. Because, like McCarthyism, it got rid of all the people who wanted to defend democracy. And by labeling them as communists, they were forcing those people out and putting bad people in. And here you have the Wheel of Fortune. Things start to turn forward. What's moving forward? We have the Eight of Pentacles reverse. It means no betrayal. So America is going to undergo some sort of revitalization or its re-image. Something's going to change in terms of America's image and its perspective. And here is the Magician card. Things flip upside down. The Magician. The predator has now become the prey. That's the message you need to understand. The predator has now become the prey. And here you also have as well as you have the Knight of Cups reverse. Freedom to speak as you can, right? Unless you speak what they tell you, or unless you endorse this. This is the Knight of Wands. This is religion. Using religion as a justification for bringing forth crystal fascist energy and methodology into the United States. And here's Pisces going upstream. Something about to change. Final card we have here, you need to learn to resist, but do it in a way that doesn't let them spin the story in their favor. Don't let them use protests to rectify actions, because it's not in line with what's meant to happen for the United States. It's not in line with true and fair liberty for all, right? Something along those lines. And here it is, the King of Swords. we have this Christian fascist, right? Somebody putting out the arm very, very high up. You can kind of tell if it was a little higher, it's definitely Nazi. But also, what it is telling us here as well, there's going to be two different polar opposites. They're going to put somebody who's going to be instigating this fascist energy, but this is also, you know, when I told you the military, there's only going to be bad people in the military or in the general. They're going to remove those people. Well, these people are also going to be part of a movement themselves. They're going to be the good people, the good guys, are going to be part of a movement, and they're going to be instigating the next phase of the United States. They're going to be part of that resistance. And here you have it, the Five of Wands. This is what's coming, unfortunately. It's the Five of Wands. And that falls on top of the foundation. It falls on top of the restructuring of the military. So how is the military going to be used? It's going to be used to oppress Americans. But how are the good people going to be used? The good general, the one who's been fired, they're going to be part of that resistance. And here you have it, the Queen of Wands. It's the story. It's the story of us. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace out. I love you. And I'll see you soon. Bye guys.